12-year-old believed she was safe until police discovered her hidden diary. In the quiet streets of a small town where everyone thought they knew their neighbors, a shocking crime reveals the hidden depths of a seemingly ordinary life. Dive into this disturbing case with us as we unravel the details of the crime, the intense investigation that followed, and the courtroom drama that laid bare the chilling truths behind what appeared to be a normal facade. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our deep dives into these fascinating stories. Stick around, leave a like if you find the video intriguing, and join in the discussion below. Let's get started. On a serene June night in 1992, 18-year-old Katie Ratcliffe left a local club in Camberley, Surrey, choosing the solitude of a walk home over a ride. Emotional and seeking clarity, she hoped the cool night air would soothe her spirits. As she strolled through the quiet streets, an unexpected encounter unfolded. A car halted beside her, revealing a group of unfamiliar faces, including a young girl. This girl, barely 12, wore an innocent smile that masked a disturbing reality. What unfolded next would shock the nation and challenge societal perceptions of crime and innocence. This young girl was Sharon Carr, and her story is one of the most unsettling in British criminal history. Born on December 21st, 1979 in Belize, then a British colony, Sharon experienced a tumultuous upbringing. Her mother, Molly, a figure shrouded in mystery and resilience, raised Sharon and her three siblings under challenging circumstances. The identity of Sharon's biological father remained a question mark throughout her life, compounding her sense of instability. In the early 1980s, Molly met George Carr, a Jamaican soldier stationed in Belize with the British Army. Their whirlwind romance led to a swift marriage. Yet, despite their union, the Carr family grappled with severe financial strain, often struggling to afford basic necessities. Their home became a battleground, with poverty fueling frequent conflicts and bouts of violence. George Carr's relationship with alcohol exacerbated the family's troubles, often leading him to violent outbursts against Molly and the children. Molly herself was not without fault. Her frustration and despair often manifested in physical aggression towards her children. Sharon, in particular, bore the brunt of her mother's wrath, enduring beatings and even burns, as she later recounted. The impact of such a volatile environment on a young Sharon was profound, shaping her into a person capable of acts that would later stun the community. Her descent into darkness was marked by an escalation in behavior that confounded those around her, setting the stage for that fateful night in June 1992, a night that revealed the disturbing depths of what a troubled youth could harbor. As we delve deeper into the complexities of Sharon Carr's life and actions, we explore not only the shocking events of that summer night, but also the broader implications of her upbringing and the societal failures that may have contributed to her harrowing journey. This case remains a poignant reminder of the shadows that can lurk behind the most unsuspecting facades. In 1986, seeking a fresh start, the Carr family moved from Belize to England, settling into a public housing estate in Camberley, Surrey. It was here that Sharon began her education at the local primary school. Initially, her teachers found her to be polite, sociable, and helpful, a seemingly well-adjusted child. Yet beneath this facade of innocence, Sharon harbored deep-seated troubles that soon began to emerge. Sharon's behavior took a concerning turn when she started associating with older students who led her astray. These new acquaintances introduced her to cannabis and enticed her into petty theft and drug dealing. Her fascination with weapons grew during this period, and she began to carry a sharp object in her school bag, signaling a disturbing shift in her demeanor. As Sharon's behavior deteriorated, she became increasingly rebellious and disrespectful, often disrupting classes and craving attention. The domestic situation at home worsened when her father, George, decided to leave the family. In a moment of intense anger, Molly retaliated by throwing boiling oil at him Upon returning home, Sharon found her life further complicated by her mother's new relationship with a laborer who had two daughters from a previous marriage and soon moved in with them. Around this time, Sharon transitioned to secondary school, and for a brief period, her life appeared to stabilize. She even joined the school basketball team, briefly offering her teachers a glimmer of hope. However, any semblance of normalcy was superficial. The volatile environment of her early years and her mother's disturbing beliefs continued to shape Sharon profoundly. Molly, who claimed to possess supernatural powers, introduced Sharon to voodoo practices, including animal sacrifices. This exposure to such extreme beliefs and practices only deepened the complexities of Sharon's troubled psyche, setting the stage for further turmoil. Sharon's fascination with the occult escalated as she began to employ rituals and incantations to manipulate and intimidate those around her. Her involvement in black magic marked a sinister turn in her behavior, leading her to commit grotesque acts of violence against animals. Court records later revealed Sharon's cruel pleasure in torturing cats and other small animals with sharp implements, illustrating the depth of her descent into darkness. In a chilling confession, Sharon admitted to the brutal killing of a neighbor's dog, where she used a shovel to gruesomely split its body in two. Other accounts detailed further atrocities, such as her boasting about throwing live hamsters into boiling oil. These disturbing acts, however, shockingly remained unnoticed or unchecked by the adults in her life, allowing her malevolent behavior to continue unchecked. As Sharon's capacity for violence grew, her actions transitioned from animals to humans, driven by a twisted need to fulfill her darkest impulses. On the evening of June 6, 1992, Sharon, only 12 years old at the time, was seen with her usual group of older friends. They spent the night loitering on the outskirts of Camberley, their reasons for being there unknown, whether by mere chance or with a sinister intent. That night, Katie Ratcliffe, an 18-year-old aspiring hairdresser dreaming of opening her own salon, had gone out to distract herself from a recent painful breakup. After encountering her ex-boyfriend at the club and overwhelmed by renewed grief, Katie decided to leave early. Opting to walk home for some air, she declined her friend's offers for a ride or company, a decision that would lead her into harm's way. Alone on a quiet street, Katie's path crossed with Sharon and her group. Misled by Sharon's youthful appearance, Katie accepted their offer for a ride home, a decision that tragically led her into a lethal trap. Within an hour, children playing near a cemetery stumbled upon the horrifying sight of Katie's lifeless body, a grim testament to the consequences of Sharon's unchecked escalation into violence. This grim incident highlights not only the tragic end of a young woman's life, but also the severe consequences of a community's failure to intervene in a troubled child's life. Sharon's progression from animal cruelty to the murder of Katie Ratcliffe marks a harrowing escalation of her violent tendencies, fueled by her dark interests and the absence of preventive measures by those around her. Katie Ratcliffe's body was found in a shocking state, naked with multiple stab wounds, including severe injuries to her private areas. Although there was no initial evidence of sexual assault, the gruesome nature of the attack suggested such motives, prompting police to wait for autopsy results to confirm their suspicions. The devastating task of identifying Katie's body fell to her heartbroken parents at the local morgue. Given the brutality of the crime, investigators initially suspected the perpetrator to be a sexually motivated adult male. The police constructed a profile of the suspected killer as a man in his 20s or 30s, leading to over 500 men being questioned, including Katie's ex-boyfriend and other acquaintances from the night of her disappearance. Despite extensive inquiries, all leads came to naught. Katie's ex-boyfriend was racked with guilt, lamenting that had he taken her home that night, she might still have been alive. The forensic analysis of Katie's wounds indicated a brutal attack with a 15-centimeter blade, resulting in approximately 30 stab wounds affecting her ribs, heart, and genital area. As the investigation progressed, detectives noted that some of Katie's jewelry and personal belongings were missing, adding a possible theft motive to the case. The location of her body, found in a town adjacent to where she was last seen, further complicated the investigation. With no substantial leads or evidence, the case stalled, leaving the mystery unsolved until a subsequent violent incident 2 years later pointed to an unexpected suspect. On the second anniversary of Katie's death, a horrifying attack occurred at Collingwood School in Surrey. 13-year-old Anne Marie Clifford was brutally assaulted in the school bathroom by none other than Sharon Carr. Armed with a sharp object, Sharon inflicted multiple stab wounds on Anne Marie, severely injuring her and puncturing her lung. The attack was only halted when 5 students intervened. During subsequent police questioning, Sharon confessed to her history of animal cruelty and the killing of a neighbor's dog. Sharon's chilling admissions led to a psychological evaluation, and due to her violent actions, she was placed in a mental health facility. While there, she attempted to strangle 2 staff members, confirming her dangerous propensity for violence. In December 1994, Sharon was convicted for the assault on Anne Marie Clifford and sentenced to 2 years in a juvenile detention center. Her continued violent behavior in various psychiatric units eventually necessitated her transfer to a secure male section of a facility in Durham. In September 1995, Sharon was relocated to Bullwood Hall, a specialized facility for young offenders equipped to manage her violent and sexualized behavior. It was during her incarceration there that Sharon began to boast to other inmates and their visitors about her role in Katie's murder, recounting the details with disturbing clarity. This revelation would eventually lead investigators to reconsider the unsolved case of Katie Ratcliffe. Sharon Carr's chilling secrets began to unravel further while she was incarcerated. In her cell, she meticulously documented her crimes in journals, filling pages with dark reflections and sketches. In January 1996, Sharon, having developed an emotional attachment to a prison guard, confided in him about her involvement in Katie Ratcliffe's murder. This confession, along with the contents of her journals, provided law enforcement with the crucial evidence needed to link her to the crime that had mystified investigators and tormented Katie's family for years. Upon learning of Sharon's admission, the prison guard promptly informed the police, who seized her journals and drawings for examination. The content of these notebooks was both shocking and revelatory. Sharon had detailed her assault on Katie with disturbing clarity and precision, describing a perverse pleasure. In her diaries, Sharon described observing Katie's struggles and demise with a cold detachment, remarking on the gradual ebbing of life from her victim. Although claiming she hadn't initially intended to kill Katie, Sharon wrote of an overwhelming compulsion to commit violence, an urge that stripped away any semblance of mercy or grace. The journals also hinted at the sexual nature of the attack, a disturbing element that initially misled investigators to suspect a male perpetrator. Further entries in Sharon's journals revealed her disturbing psychological state. She wrote of hearing Katie's screams, which she claimed fueled a twisted excitement within her. These insights provided a new understanding of the brutal injuries inflicted, especially those to Katie's genital area, which had puzzled investigators. Sharon also penned haunting passages about seeing demonic visions in her dreams and even in her own reflection, suggesting a deeply troubled mind. The media, catching wind of her gruesome confessions and her self-styled nickname in her diary, the Devil's Daughter, sensationalized her persona. In her journal's introduction, Sharon chillingly declared herself a professional in taking lives, a statement that both alarmed and fascinated the public. During an exhaustive 20-hour interrogation, Sharon's accounts varied, but she consistently admitted to the multiple stabbings that killed Katie. Sharon's detailed confession also implicated two acquaintances, claiming they were with her in the car during the attack and had engaged in intimate acts with Katie before her death. However, when these individuals were questioned, they provided solid alibis and were subsequently cleared by the police, focusing the investigation solely on Sharon as the perpetrator of the horrifying crime. Despite Sharon's detailed confession, questions persisted regarding the possible involvement of others, primarily due to the logistical improbability of a 12-year-old girl managing to move Katie, who weighed 90 pounds, to the remote location where her body was found. Nevertheless, based on the damning evidence in her journals and her own admissions, Sharon was charged with murder. The trial set to determine her fate commenced in early 1997 at Winchester Crown Court. The trial, lasting 4 weeks, was a media sensation, largely because of Sharon's youth and the gruesome nature of the crime. At just 17 years old by the time of the trial, Sharon was found guilty, becoming the youngest person in Britain to be convicted of murder. This case drew comparisons to Mary Bell, who at age 11 was convicted of manslaughter, not murder, for her involvement in the deaths of 2 young boys in 1968. Sharon's demeanor throughout the trial was unsettling. As the verdict was read, she smirked, maintaining a defiant smile as she was led from the courtroom. This reaction only heightened the public's horror and fascination with the case. On March 25, 1997, the judge sentenced her to life imprisonment, setting a minimum term of 14 years before she would be eligible for parole, labeling her as an extremely dangerous individual. In June 1998, Sharon's mental health was formally addressed when she was transferred to a psychiatric hospital under the Mental Health Act. There, she was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. She remained at this facility until it transitioned to a men-only institution, prompting her move to a secure hospital in London. In 1999, an appeal to reduce her minimum sentence from 14 to 12 years was denied, affirming the severity of her actions and the ongoing concern for public safety. During her time at Broadmoor Psychiatric Hospital, Sharon encountered Robert Lane, a fellow inmate convicted of murdering his mother. Despite the grim nature of their crimes, the two developed a relationship. The relationship between Sharon and Robert, marked by its peculiar circumstances, led to their engagement in 2001. The media, ever attentive to the developments in Sharon's life, reported that their wedding was scheduled for late August in the chapel of the Secure Hospital. The ceremony, to be officiated by the hospital chaplain, was planned as a small affair with about 20 inmates in attendance under strict supervision. At ages 20, despite having already chosen their wedding rings, Sharon and Robert unexpectedly terminated their engagement. This sudden decision followed after they read a detailed press article that graphically recounted their respective crimes. The article described how Robert, at 17, had brutally attacked his mother, stabbing her 29 times, assaulting her with a carpet beater, and horrifically gouging out her eyes. His violent outburst was reportedly driven by deep-seated resentment, believing his mother had favored his sister over him. Shocked and repulsed by the gruesome details of each other's actions, both Sharon and Robert were compelled to end their relationship abruptly and ceased all communication. On October 17, 2003, Sharon's minimum sentence was reviewed, but the court decided to uphold the original term. However, less than 2 months later, on December 10th, the same judge reconsidered her case and recommended reducing her minimum sentence to 12 years. This decision sparked significant controversy and deeply distressed Katie's family. Joseph Ratcliffe, Katie's father, vocally expressed his belief to the media that Sharon should remain imprisoned for life, arguing that she continued to pose a significant threat to public safety. The opposition to Sharon's parole was robust and widespread, including not only Katie's family, but also the original investigating officers, various civil organizations, and mental health specialists who had assessed Sharon over the years. These parties consistently argued that she remained a significant danger to society. In 2004, Sharon's legal team pushed for her conviction to be downgraded to manslaughter, citing diminished responsibility, but this plea was firmly rejected. In 2007, a decision was made to move Sharon to the Orchard Unit, a medium security facility, suggesting a potential easing of her confinement conditions. However, the situation took a turn in 2015 when she was transferred to a high-security women's prison near Ashford, Surrey. The transfer order indicated that Sharon had been deemed a risk to both staff and fellow inmates. Her condition. Experts reviewing her case pointed out Sharon's pattern of forming intense emotional attachments and her extreme reactions to perceived rejections, which contributed to their cautious stance against her release. As of November 2024, Sharon was still held at Bronzefield Prison in Ashford, with no forthcoming review date scheduled. Her case continues to be a significant part of British criminal history, marking her as one of the most notorious female offenders. Sharon's case is especially remarkable given the rarity of women committing violent crimes against strangers. Experts note the unusual nature of a 12-year-old girl committing a murder, targeting an adult woman in such a brutal manner. Additionally, the manner of the crime, multiple stab wounds and specific injuries, typically aligns more with patterns seen in male offenders, making Sharon's actions all the more extraordinary in the annals of crime. Sharon Carr's heinous acts have not only wrought immense suffering upon Katie Ratcliffe's family, but have also left an indelible mark on British society. The lingering questions surrounding her case continue to provoke debate. Was Sharon predisposed to a life of crime, as she herself suggested in her diaries, or were her actions the product of the violent and loveless circumstances of her upbringing? What's your perspective? Should Sharon remain behind bars, or does she merit a chance at freedom? We invite you to share your views in the comments below.